Hello, welcome to Do It Yourself with Wayne. We're doing a series on building bluebird houses. We got 4 different designs here, and we're doing videos on each of the 4 designs. We've already done this house and this house. On this video, we're going to do this house, and they're all a little bit different. Sometimes it depends on what materials you have in your area, what design you want, where you're going to mount it. But we'll get into all that. But today we're going to be building this one. It's made using one cedar picket. Now, cedar picket is one of these things that you can get most anywhere they sell supplies for fencing. Typically, those are used for fencing around your backyard. I like cedar because it doesn't rot very quick. It's very rot resistant. And don't use treated wood. Some people will tell you treated wood is okay. I don't agree with that. I just don't think it's good for the baby birds. But you know, in this particular build, we're using the cedar picket, which is not treated, but they are very rot resistant. Things you need, you got to have a saw. Now, I got my miter saw out here. I'll be using that. I've also got my jigsaw. I got my circular saw. I also got my hand saw out here. You can use any of these saws. It doesn't matter. There's not a lot of sawing that you really have to do. These pickets are thinner than a lot of wood. They're only 1/2 inch thick, so they're not really hard to cut. So if all you got is a hand saw, you can still build one of these birdhouses. You do need a drill, whether it be a hand drill like this or a bench top drill. I got my drill press out here just because it's easier for me, but you got to have a drill of some sort. You need some nails. You need to knock stuff over. It's all part of the show. All right, you need a tape measure, you need a square, and a pencil. I don't want to do my pencil, but it's here somewhere. But anyway, that's the stuff that you need to build this birdhouse. And we'll be showing you how to go about building this thing, why this particular design is different than the others. And also down in the comment or the description below, we'll leave a link to a PDF file about the dimensions and everything for building this particular birdhouse. Now, I've already taken my 6-foot picket and cut it into pieces, and I just want to show you kind of how it laid out. And this is our bottom, it's 4 inches. This is our top. It's about 9.5, but like I said, I'll put a PDF file in the bottom in the description for these measurements. This is our top. These are our 2 sides. And then what's left we're going to use for the back side. Now, for some people, you don't know how to make a 20-degree angle. And this cut right here is a 20-degree angle. This one's a 20-degree angle. I don't know how much you can see that, but that's not cut straight off, it's cut at an angle. And if you have trouble figuring out how to do angles like that, once you cut these 2 pieces, this side will give you the measurements, this side will give you the measurements, you cut it straight off, that's a 20-degree angle. So you've already got something that's at that angle. So if you need to cut an angle here, just take these 2, set them like that, take your saw, lay it against it. If you got your hand saw, if you lean your hand saw against those 2 pieces like that and cut this, you cut a 20-degree angle here. And that's the way you can get that 20-degree angle if you don't have a saw that you can set for a 20-degree angle. A lot of saws will have that, but some don't. But if you don't, that's how you can get it. All right, so that's how we cut our pieces, like that. So we got our bottom, we got our 2 sides, we got our top, we got our bottom, back, 2 sides, top, and something else. The front. My camera operator had to help me out there. Okay, now the next thing we're going to need to do on our front piece, that's the top, this is the front, it goes like that. We need to cut a hole in here for the birds to come in and out of. It's a 1.5 inch diameter hole. I'm going to use my drill press. I got a 1.5 inch bit here. If you got a a hand operated drill. You just need an 1.5 inch bit and you can drill through there. So this is it. Now we're going to drill a hole in our front piece, and you want to come down 2 inches, put a little mark. You want another one in the center. Now these 6-inch boards are really only 5.5 inches wide, so 2 3/4 is the midway point. So put a little mark at 2 3/4. That gives you an X right there in the center where you want your hole. Now when you drill a hole with a bit like this or a spade bit, if you drill in from one side but not all the way through, and then you turn around and drill from the other side, you get a smoother hole. Now with some bits that may be difficult, but I got this set so that that's as far as my bit will go down, but it doesn't hit the plate, but it goes more than halfway of the thickness of the wood. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go down and drill until the drill stops. I'm going to turn my wood over because the bit in the center is for alignment and the hole will come all the way through. I use that hole for centering up. I cut through from the other side, we'll get a nice smooth hole. So let's do that. And there we go. We got a hole that's nice and smooth on both sides, and if you got a little boy around, they really like these little wheels. All right, so that's how we do our hole for our front door. Now let's start putting some pieces together. Okay, now we've got our pieces cut, and I got them just put together to nothing is nailed or attached. They're just sitting in place to make sure everything fits properly. And at this point, I'd like to also say something else that I missed earlier about this wood. This is the cedar pickets that you get for fencing, and it's a rough cut wood. The rough cut wood is a good wood to use because the inside of the box, if you have wood that's really smooth in there, the little baby birds sometimes have trouble crawling out when they're ready to leave the nest. So that's one of the good things about this rough cut wood for the cedar pickets. It makes it easier for them to get out. Now, when I cut the picket, if you notice, the top of the picket had 2 ears cut off. I guess it was like this. These was their cuts. When you cut the bottom, cut the other 2 corners out. Now the reason you do that is so there's airflow up through the bottom. You need airflow so that moisture doesn't build up. If rainwater happens to get in there, it's got plenty of place to get out. But you need airflow in there. Now if you'll notice, up here, there's a gap here. When you cut your pieces, there should be a gap right there. Okay, the top goes all the way up to the roof, but the sides don't. That air gap is where your air can get out at the top. You want to make sure you've got that. When you cut your pieces of wood, I would recommend that you cut one piece at a time, make sure it's right, then cut the next one. Because if you mark everything down your board, cut everything, something may be off a little bit. And trust me, these little bluebirds, they're not going to come out with their tape measure or anything. As long as you're close, you'll be okay. But you do need to make sure you have the air gap at the top and the bottom. All right, so let's get going, nailing this thing together and get it finished up. Now we're ready to start nailing this thing together, but before we do, I want to make a couple quick points. This board right here, that was what was left over of our 6-foot picket. It doesn't really need to be that long. You can notice this one's been shortened down some. I had cut some off of it. But this style of Bluebird house is good if you need to, just nail it to a post, or well, maybe you shouldn't nail it to a tree, but typically a fence post or some kind of post you put up. But that's the advantage of this particular design. We do have another birdhouse that's basically the same, but it mounts differently. But this one has a long piece at the top, at the back, which is laying on the table right now, so you can nail it to a board or something. Now another thing I want to point out right quick before we start nailing is when you have a bluebird house, bluebirds won't build on top of an old nest. So once they leave, you got to clean your box out, okay? And we have had as many as 3 nestings and families in one bluebird box in a season. But they won't do that if you don't clean the box out after they leave. Now, when you go to start putting this thing together, you got to remember that one side isn't nailed in like the other side. And the reason is so you can open this. There's a nail here that slides out. I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. And this side will tilt up. That gives you access to the inside to clean them out. You close them back. You put the nail back in there so it can't open up when the birds are in there. And that's all it takes to clean one of these things. But you do have to do that between every nesting. All right, let's get started putting this thing together. Now I've got my pieces set in place again. And once you cut these, the bottom edge of your two sides and your front should be even. The tops are not even because of that air gap I was telling you about. So make sure your bottoms are even. And you can use screws, you can use nails here. I'm using nails here. These cedar pickets are not as thick as like a 1x6 that you normally buy at the hardware store. The screws tend to be a little bit larger in diameter and they're more likely to split your wood. So if I do these cedar pickets, I'd always use the small nails just so it don't split the wood as easily. All right, now I'm going to flip it over and do the back side. Remember, this side doesn't get nailed in like the other side. And I'm not going to worry too much about the back side, how it is this way. I'm just going to make sure I got, somewhat even top and bottom. And then I'm going to nail it in. Because you really don't need this much space, but it's what I had left over, so we're just going to leave it there for now. All right, that gets those two done. Now I'm going to nail the bottom in. The bottom's fitting a little snug, but that should be okay. Just make sure you still got your air gap in the corners, and those corners, with them being cut out, your air gap's going to stay there. All right, put one there, put one on the bottom and the back side. All right, put two on this side just to hold it good. All right, now I'm going to put the roof on. The roof will go on like so. Don't forget your air gap, okay? So this part's a little bit tricky. I'm going to have to hold it something like that and put the nails in it. Stand around like this to put a couple in the front. Make sure you don't get that thing so tight that you can't put your side door in it. All right, now if I can get my side back out, we'll finish it up. My side is a little too tight. I think I'm going to shave this just a little bit so that it won't fit quite so tight. It does fit, but if it's a little looser, it'll open and close a little better. Okay, now we're going to talk about installing our side panel that will open. Mine was a little tight, so I shaved just a little bit off that edge. I didn't take much off, but just enough that it's snug, but it's not so tight I can't open it. But at this point, take a look inside your box, okay, and make sure that the nails that you put in it, none of them are sticking out where the points are visible inside the box. If you have nails that are sticking out in here, your baby birds can get hurt on those nail points. So if you got any that didn't go straight, just go ahead and get them out and you know, put one in straighter just so you don't hurt your baby birds. All right, now to put our door in, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put aluminum nail here and here, and you don't have to use aluminum, but I've got some, so I'm going to. I like the aluminum because they won't rust. If you use a regular nail, they may rust some over time, but they'll still work for your hinge. So basically the nails will be used as a hinge, and so I got my side right there, and right there's where I want it. I got a small drill bit. I'm going to drill this because those nails are a little bit larger than the others I was using. All right. And that didn't go straight, so I'll have to redo it. But what you want to do is on this door, you want to make sure that your two nails are at the same height up and down the box. If one's higher than the other, your door will bind when you try to open it. So use your square and mark where your hole at the back goes so you can get it at the same height up and down. Okay, like I said, the nail came out the side. I'll have to redo that, but that's how the door works. Just pivots up like that so you can clean it out after the little baby's fledge. Close it back, and to put a latch in it, what we're going to do, I'm going to change our drill bit, go a little bit larger, and I want to drill. I'm going to use another one of my aluminum nails. But I want a drill bit that's a little bit larger than the nail. Not much larger, just a little larger. And I want the nail to go in at an angle. So if your birdhouse is like this, I want the nail going in like this. That way it won't fall out over time. You want it so you can pull it out, but you don't want it to fall out. So I'm going to drill a hole like this for this, and that'll make our latch. It's easier if you start straight in. And once your drill starts drilling the hole, then turn it for your angle. Like that. And there you go. Now a lot of times I'll take this nail and I'll bend the head of it a little bit so that it's not sticking out. You can do that or not. You can drill your hole a little deeper. But right now the door won't open. When you need to clean your bird house, you pull your nail out, you flip your door open, you clean it out, okay? Close it back down, stick your nail back in there, you got your latch that keeps the door shut the rest of the year, and put a nail here, a nail down there into a post, and you got it mounted, and you got your Bluebird house. And that's it for building this little Bluebird house. If you find this helpful, please click like and share it with your friends. And if you subscribe to our channel, it'll make it easier for you to find our other Bluebird videos. And so we'd really appreciate it if you did subscribe. And we'd just like to say thank you for visiting. Do It Yourself with Wayne, and we hope you have a great day.